It's Gary Cobb with you. And we're going to be talking about the Eagles' win over the New York Giants, or really the domination of the Giants. Really wasn't much of a game. The game was over early. After that first drive, they went down the field so easily. And really, that's what the problem that the Eagles are going to present for the 49ers. But against the Giants, what you had them do is they ran the ball, and then you had that deep throw where Devontae Smith was running across the field, diagonal route, and he was able to get open against that zone defense. Looked like the Giants were playing, and Jalen put the ball on the money. It was a nice throw, got him isolated with one of the safeties. And it was a big play that really set up the first touchdown. And that's where, we look at this team, and you had to throw to Dallas Goedert, like a 20-yard touchdown. He ran a route, and I think the safety that was covering him fell down and kind of tripped. And he was able to get his hands on the ball, and then he's big. He's going to carry a guy into the end zone. So that's the problem that the Eagles are going to present for anybody that's going to play them, is that they can play a very physical game where they got a big offensive line, they're very physical. They can run the ball on you, and then you also have the game where they can air it out. And what they did was they built up a quick lead, and then they start pounding the ball. I love the fact that, and I really don't want them to ever get away from that, and I've talked about this all year, is that you don't ever want to get away from the physical play, where you can play a physical game where there's really not any deception. It's just we're running the ball on you, and we're bigger and we're more physical. Because I'm just talking to some of the guys after the game. I mean, Lane Dickerson. Big. I mean, he's probably the biggest guard, or one of the biggest guards in the NFL. I mean, big, 330-pound guard. I mean, and not fat. I'm just saying big, strong, and he loves to fire out at guys and be physical. That's what he enjoys doing. He loves to do that more than pass blocking. Hey, all they do, you notice they were running, and a lot of times they were going to the left, because you got Lane Dickerson and you got Jordan Mailata over there. And Mailata is like 365 pounds. It doesn't matter who they're playing. After a while, it's going to wear somebody down. You saw that they took Dexter Lawrence off the field for a while, and they were able to get after him. And Jason Kelsey, I don't know how he does it. They're guys that outweigh him. He gets up under them, and he blocks them. He moves them off the ball. He gets up under. He uses leverage. He gets up under them, and he's a great technician. But he has to be, because he's smaller. But I don't care how he does it. He moves those guys off the ball. So they're able to run the ball. And that's one of the things that is going to be a key to this game coming up. If they're able to run the ball like that, and I think they will be able to run the ball, then San Francisco's in trouble, because now you got to worry about all the rest of this offense, and they cannot cover the Eagles receivers. I mean, they were getting beat. This past weekend, there were guys open, but Dak Prescott missed throws. But there were guys open. They got deep on the 49ers, but Dak Prescott missed the throws. Not to mention him where he turns the ball over all the time. I mean, I don't see why they're married to Dak Prescott, because he's been very disappointing. But anyway, let's get back to the Eagles. They present a problem because they can get physical with the team, and then they can throw the ball every play if they want to. So there's multiple ways they can attack you. And they do a great job of really putting you in a position where if you choose this, then we're going to go the other way. They have options on everything they do. And, of course, one of the keys is Jalen. And he didn't have to run a lot, but he just had to present that threat of a run. And then it takes some of the defenders, it takes them off. They can't go inside because they don't know when he's going to pull that ball out and take off around the corner. So they have to honor him, and they've got to do the same thing in the passing game. And so his legs present another problem. That's the option. But I love the fact that you got the line can get physical, and it's just physical football. And of course, it's amazing to see Lane Johnson out there, playing with that injury. But the offensive line can't say enough about the way they took over that game and dominated. They dominated the Giants with just running the ball right down their throat. Because after they got the lead, they just dominated the game, just running the ball down the Giants' throat, and that was tremendous. So Devontae Smith with the first big play, Dallas Goedert with the touchdown, and then you had Devontae. He also scored a touchdown with the great blocking by A.J. Brown, and you see Brown wasn't really thrilled about the fact that he didn't get a lot of catches, in the locker room after, you could see. I mean, he wasn't thrilled about that part of it, but he's going to get his. All those guys are going to get a chance to have big games because you cannot double everybody. You can't double cover everybody, and so it's going to be very interesting to see what the 49ers do, and of course, but just the Eagles game and the domination over the Giants though. They dominated. I mean, and I don't know if Williams, the young fella in there from USC, did he play in the game? I don't even know if he made a play. They dominated them. I mean, with Dexter Lawrence, who is a monster in the middle, they got them moving. See, and when you get a guy moving, it doesn't matter how big he is. If he's moving, then they don't have the same strength. It's basically athleticism once you're moving. And sometimes with a big guy, especially once he starts getting tired. And that's what they ran the ball. And the Giants' big guys in the middle, they were fatigued and they were sucking wind. And once you get those guys tired, you can move them because they're not, always running directly at them, but they get them moving and then they're able to push them back. But the Eagles' offensive line, they're not talked about a lot, but I think they got the best offensive line in the league. I mean, you see nearly all the guys were either in the Pro Bowl, they either were first team Pro Bowl, at least for the voting for the NFC, or they're an alternate. I mean, everybody on their offensive line, either they were first team or they were an alternate. What does that say? And to get them flowing, and they just done a tremendous job. And, we always hear about how well that offensive line. And the thing about it also is they have depth. They have the guys that can come in that are backups that can come in and are very good players. So that's where you're going to see that's going to pay off for them. But you want to start celebrating before you win it all. So hold up all the celebrating. They need to stay focused on being ready to play their best because they're not really playing against the other team, even though it is a competition. The Eagles are really competing with themselves. Can they play their best football? Because if they play their best football, it'll take care of everything else. So they got to stay focused. The ball handling, always putting the ball away because turnovers are huge when you start talking about playoffs. If you don't turn the ball over, then you're going to have success. You cannot turn the ball over. And that proved to be a key because the Eagles were able to grab that interception. James Bradbury had a tremendous game. He played great. And you figure he'd come in with the fact that the Giants released him and he made them pay for releasing him. It just seemed like they definitely could have used him. But they really helped the Eagles out by releasing Bradbury, and they were able to pick him up because now either side, you're dealing with a Pro Bowl level cornerback. And so if you make a mistake, you could end up paying with the guy picking the ball off. And that's what happened. You had Daniel Jones, and boy, you're talking about a guy that was really brought back down to earth was Daniel Jones. I mean, he looked and played well against Minnesota. But, I was looking at the Minnesota film. The Minnesota defense, they've got part of the team in the secondary, part of them playing man-to-man, and the other half is playing zone. What? You cannot play. You got to all be on the same page. And I don't know what happened that had them messed up, but they were the Vikings really were the reasons that the Giants played so well in that first game, because the Vikings defense was horrible, and they were just pathetic. And that's the reason they didn't look good against the Eagles. I mean, their offense just looked like it's looked like it did in the past, where you had Daniel Jones out there basically not sure what he's doing, not sure where he's going with the ball. The guys having trouble getting open, and they could go out and improve the receivers they have. But we'll see whether they sign him or not, because the Giants, I mean, they were horrible in that game. So I don't know how they feel about, continuing with Jones. Maybe they remember the Viking game and say, well, they won one game, and because he can run. I will give him credit for that. He's a much better athlete than everybody gives him credit for. But I don't see him as he's not very good at reading the defense, going through the different, first, second option, third option, and either running or throwing the ball away. He seems to be at times kind of slow going through the process. But with the fact that there are not a lot of good quarterbacks available, I think he'll wind up getting probably a good contract up there in New York. But the Eagles offense, got to give them the thumbs up. Even though wasn't huge numbers throwing the ball, they ran the ball, and that's fine. They were able to put 38 points on the board. I think 38 will probably win you just about every game. If they score 38, they'll be celebrating in February if they score 38 every game. Now, with the defense did a good job against Daniel Jones. They mixed things up. Of course, they had the turnover. They almost had another turnover, and I love the fact that Josh Sweat, when he came from behind, he used that crowbar, and he knocked that ball out on the sack. That's going to prove to be very important, because I think they can get to San Francisco, and they got a young fellow be back there, and somebody comes up from behind him and knocks that ball out. I think he'll start acting like the rookie he is. And that's what's going to take for the Eagles. But turnovers, be turnover-minded. A great play by James Bradbury. And they ran a couple curls, one curl against Darius Slay. Now, Darius we need him to play the way he's capable of playing. But they ran the curl route. I think it was a 4th down and 16. Hey, we can't let people be getting 4th and 16. That's not good. And then there was also a blown coverage where you had the guy running free and they missed him. Come on. See, nobody talks about that because, the Eagles won the game. But you go in the meeting room, and I know they're going to go, hey, what's this coverage here? Such and such? That's your man. Or whether they were in zone or man-to-man. I think they were in a man-to-man. But the guy's running wide open. And Daniel Jones missed them, and really it was kind of both of them. Either you could cite the receiver or the quarterback. But that'll be 6 if they do that again. And the thing about it is, I'll bet you, Kyle Shanahan is looking at that tape right now. He's gonna show the same formation and the same play and see if they have corrected it. So you can't do that kind of thing. And I know they've got those guys in the meeting room and saying, hey, look, we cannot afford to do this. We were ahead, by 38-7. And so guy comes open and nobody remembers. It's no big deal. But in a close game, which chances are the 49er game is not going to be a blowout. But you're in that game, can't afford to give anybody an easy score by just blowing your assignment. You got to know what you're doing when you're out there. And they need to go over that another 100 times, if that's what they got to do. Cannot afford that type of mistake. But all in all, though, the defense did play well. And I thought they did a good job against the run, which the Giants, once you take away their running game, Daniel Jones can't carry that offense. He's just not proficient enough as a quarterback, and he's not sophisticated enough where he knows how to go to the second and third options and throw the ball downfield and be able to read all the defenses. He's not that good. So once they were able to take away Saquon Barkley, who I wonder about his health. I haven't seen any games where he's carried the ball 20 times, because a running back at his size and his speed, a smart team is going to try to get the ball in his hands more than the Giants do. But he was not effective at all. He just really didn't do much. He had that one run, but he really didn't do a lot. And the Eagles were able to keep him under control. And once, they were able to keep him under control and get a pass rush on Daniel Jones, that the Giants might as well get back on I-95 and head on back up the expressway and go ahead on back up to North Jersey, because they weren't going to have any success. I mean, for the second half of the game, it was basically, why don't you guys go get back on the bus and head on out of here? Because they really didn't have any chance. They are not proficient enough, and their offense is not explosive enough. You see, they don't really throw the ball downfield very much. But they're not at that point yet where they could come back from that kind of deficit. So the Eagles kind of knew, and I think everybody knew that it was over. But Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, I like what I see out of him. He does a great job with making plays on the ball, and they're going to need that this week to make plays on the ball. And I think Chauncey Gardner-Johnson is going to be one of the keys to why the Eagles will win this week, is that he can make plays on the ball, and he does a great job. If the ball hits his hands, he catches the ball. And that's what they got to be talking that way all week, is they've got to make sure that when they get opportunities to catch the football, they catch it, because a turnover here or there is going to be very important. And they want to be given different looks. I like the fact that they were giving the Giants different looks. They showed them some blitz looks, and then they came back out of it. They disguised like they're going to play zone, and then they went after them a couple times with the blitz. You don't want to just telegraph what you're doing against an offense. You've got to be able to disguise what you're doing. And so the way you do that is the players have to be coordinating the fact that, hey, we're going to show this type of defense, but we're really playing this other defense. Once the ball is snapped, then everybody's got to know their assignment. But you want to show the offense a certain look, and then you come out of it and you're not playing that defense. And especially against a young quarterback, this kid they're playing against the Niners, they can say whatever they want about, oh, he's so good. Listen, the kid is a rookie. You show him one defense, but you're playing another, he'll throw you the football, and you want to come up at times. They want to come up like they're going to run a blitz where they're coming through those gaps there, the A and B gap around the center. You come up there, show them that look, and then you come back out of there. They want to be moving around. They've got to be able to disguise things this week, especially for this kid. You want to show things you didn't show yet. He didn't see it on film. You didn't do that. And then he's going to look up and he'll be going to the sideline. Coach, they didn't do that on film this week. Yeah, well, they do that. These are things they do in the NFL. But see, he hasn't seen a lot of things. So you want to show him a broad array of things. And they got to be thinking like that. Right now, they got to be over there working on it. Show different things. You want to show blitz looks, and you come out of it. You want to show him zone, but you're playing man-to-man. Because all kind of things that will confuse him. And once you get him confused, you see that look in his eye, you got them, because especially if you pick off a pass, and you show him a different look and it's something he's not sure about, that's the way you get him. You shake him up, or you send a blitz from his blind side and have a guy, pop him, unexpectedly. That's very unnerving for a young player, especially early in the game. And I would even tell them this, that early in that game, if one of those guys gets near that quarterback, hit him. Even if you get the penalty, it's going to shake that kid up. But you want to shake him up. You want to say so he feels like he's in a position where he doesn't know where people are coming from. And once you get him unnerved that way, he'll start throwing the ball to you, and you'll have plenty of success. And young guys, they do that. I've seen the best. I'm talking about the greatest to ever play. I've seen them during their young years get unnerved by getting hit early, and they're shaken up, and they lose their confidence. And that's the way the Eagles want to get after Brock Purdy, the young rookie quarterback for the Niners. He's smiling after the game, but you hit him a couple times early in the first quarter. He gets hit by a guy who he doesn't know where he's coming from, like from a blind side. Then the kid's getting up, and he's really shaky. He gets very shaky. And I would go through names of guys that I've seen, do that. And and the reason I say it, because Buddy Ryan was very good at that. He knew that when you had a young player, if you do something to him early in the game that's unnerving, it shakes him up and he loses his confidence. And now as a guy gets older, he's been through things so much that, he doesn't panic if you have a bad play. But a young player will. Young player will, because he hasn't been through that before, on this level, and he didn't really play in, championship games when he was in college. He was at Iowa State. They weren't winning any championships, so he didn't play in big games. Now, Jalen played in big games. I mean, Jalen played for Alabama where they're playing a national championship game where it's like this is the whole world is watching this game. Then you learn how to play in big games. And so you keep your composure. You're not panicking. You've got more experience. And those are some of the things Jalen has going for him, even in this situation where, they're playing their game away from the Super Bowl. Well, Jalen's played a national championship game where, the winner of this game is going to win the national championship. And you've got a huge TV audience. He's been, talking to the media all week, and there's been a huge buildup. The stadium's packed. You got a national television audience, huge national television audience. Going through that where this game is huge. Going through that, so if something bad happens, you don't fall apart because you've been through that before. But Brock Purdy of the 49ers, he hasn't been through that. He hasn't played in a big game like that. So if the Eagles can get to him early, you can shake him up. You can shake him up, and then he'd be shaky the rest of the game, And then maybe a few years from now, then he'll be seasoned. But right now, he's not a seasoned quarterback. So you want to show him different looks. And it's very important, that you show him something and you get to him early in the game. That will be big coming up this next game. But they did everything. As I was talking about Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, I really like him, and I would really like to get Avonte Maddox back out there too, because even though I will say, Blankenship did a pretty good job. I thought he played well. I thought he did a good job. He made some good tackles, good open field tackles. He really did a good job, and they were going after him. If you notice, they were trying to do things where they were finding out where he was at, and they were going after Blankenship, but he did a good job, and he's going to get an opportunity this coming week because, chances are they look at those veteran players they got back there. They're not going to be going after them. They're going to go after the young guys. That's who they're going to go after. They figured that they will make the mistake. So that's who they're going to be looking at, the young players. So, 49ers have a lot of weapons. They've got plenty of weapons, but Cowboys did a pretty good job against them. Cowboys defense played well enough to win, but Dak Prescott in that offense, and then once Porter went down, they were done. Once he got hurt, they were done because he's probably their best offensive weapon. CeeDee Lamb played well, but Dak Prescott, and this is going to be a big game for Jalen. Take care of the football. If it's not there, that's okay. If the guy's not open, that's okay. We'll wait. We're going to get some guys open, but we don't force it and turn the ball over because that's going to be huge in the game. That's going to have more to do with who wins the game probably than anything else is turnovers. And they've got a young kid over there who's a rookie. We think we can force him to make some mistakes. And you get a hit on him early, don't pass it up. And if you can put pressure on him early, and I would show him some different looks. You want to disguise things, and they need to work on that all week where you walk up in a certain blitz look and you come out, you're playing zone, but you give him the blitz look. He drops back. Oh, I can see you guys are in a blitz. Okay. He drops out. He throws it. All of a sudden, he's throwing the ball to one of the Eagles, and he's throwing an interception, and you can see it in his eyes. He's shook up because he doesn't know where that guy came from. That's what you want Brock Purdy to have to experience early in the game at Veterans Stadium, and you got the place going crazy. He's thinking they're going to come down out of the stands. They're yelling so loud. That's the experience you want to put this kid through. Show a look, and I would do it early on. Third downs are huge. Show him a blitz look. Come out, play zone. Show him a zone look. Boom, you're playing man-to-man. Disguise things. Move around. But you got to make sure you're where you're supposed to be when the ball snaps. But the quarterback does not know. And don't give him too much credit where you don't think he can be fooled, because even veteran quarterbacks, they make mistakes. But you want to disguise things. And that's really one of the advantages the defense has is you can walk around before the snap. As long as you know where you're supposed to be and you know your assignment, you can give the quarterback looks, and you're not coming from that side. You're not getting ready to blitz. You're dropping back into a zone. And a lot of times, have had it happen where you're showing blitz, you drop back, all of a sudden you're getting hit with the ball. The ball's throwing right to you because the quarterback is anticipating you coming, and you drop back. They make mistakes. And so that's what the Eagles want to do. But 38-7, good victory. Now, I got to finish on this note. And I'm fortunate. I think that Nick Sirianni has done a great job. I think he should be considered one of the best coaches. He's done a great job, and they've all done a great job. They've got tremendous personnel, but they still have done a great job coaching. And so I think Nick deserves a lot of credit. But why you're going to decide to try to compare Jalen Hurts to Michael Jordan? Like, what are you doing? No, you're just putting more pressure on the guy. Don't do that. You don't need to. Michael Jordan won 6 championships. And the Eagles, with Jalen Hurts haven't won one. So why would you compare the two? They're not comparable. You can compare Tom Brady to Michael Jordan, because he's won 7 championships. But before a guy even wins a championship, you're going to try to compare him to Michael Jordan? No. And then you're just putting more pressure on him. No, we don't even need to get into that. Where did that come from? You say, hey, Jalen's played great. He's a great player. Yeah, you could say all of that. But what are you going to bring in Michael Jordan? You cannot compare him to Michael Jordan. Come on. Please. Just one game, trying to win the first championship, which would be great. And Jalen is. I think he's a great leader, and he's a great player, great young player. But he's a young player just starting out his career. What are you going to say, he's in the Hall of Fame? He can't be in the Hall of Fame yet. Just started. So stop it with all that. No use in even getting into all of that. Where did that come from? And as a coach, you don't want to put more pressure on your players. You talk to them, in private, you can talk, but you don't need to get into that. We don't know. Going to bringing in Michael Jordan. And then somebody else is going to ask him. Then they're going to be asking him, you think you're as good as Michael Jordan? Would you compare? And most people, they consider Michael Jordan to be the greatest basketball player ever. So you're trying to say that Jalen's the greatest football player ever? No, we can't. Come on, please stop it. You don't, and it's distracting. It's not worth getting into. The thing they need to be focused on now is any mistakes that were made. And there was some routes, some problem with some routes. There were a number of times with the handoff. There was some snaps that were almost errant. Need to clean that up because we don't need any mistakes. Want everybody doing their job, everybody pinpoint on what they're supposed to do. That's where the focus has got to be. We don't need these just, ridiculous, comparisons and things. Let the play do all of the talking. Let the play do the talking. You go out and you dominate somebody the way they dominated the Jets. You don't really need to say anything else because all of the people that are serious about football that know, they're looking at the way you play. You don't have to add anything to it. Don't have to add anything to it because they know the Giants were totally dominated. And that is plenty enough. And that's plenty enough. And that if they continue playing like that, the Eagles are not going to have to say anything to anybody to get their respect because people respect the great performance like they had on Saturday. It was a great performance. And I think the Eagles can take their performance level up to the highest point. That's why I think they got more to throw at the 49ers than the 49ers have to throw at them. I will say the 49ers have an outstanding team and everything. But if you slow down that running game, as the Cowboys did, you see they're not all, they scored 19 points with the help of those turnovers. They weren't lighting things up. The Cowboys did a good job of coming out, getting after them, and it was their defensive line. And so the Eagles' defensive line versus that running game, they got to be ready to go, man. Stop the 49ers from running the ball, and we're going to put this whole game on the back of this kid. Put the whole game on the back of this kid. We'll see if he can deal with pressure coming from both sides, all different types of looks. If he can deal with all that, then we'll see. We will see because that's what the Eagles want to do, but they don't need to go on any talks about any superlatives about how great they are or whatever. No, you got plenty of chance to show that in the game, especially with this game coming up and hopefully the Super Bowl. You don't have to say anything. And that's where they're at. So they just need to get focused. They've had a great year so far. And they are to be commended. Some great football. And they definitely, have had one of the better regular seasons that I've seen. They've had a great regular season. But they're playing against a 49er team that had a pretty good regular season as well. And those 49ers, they were at the same spot last year. So they're a good team. They were here last year. So we're going to find out what's happening. And the Eagles have got everything they need to be able to get it done. And they've got some players that are hungry and ready to get after it. So that's where this thing is at. But great win for the Birds. Now, let's take it to the next level. Eagles really are playing against themselves. It's not about the 49ers. Eagles are playing against themselves. If they play their best football, 49ers are going down. If the Eagles play their best football. So the Eagles really aren't playing against the Niners. They're playing against themselves. They want to be the best version of themselves that they can be, and that will take care of the business. I'll be talking to you again tomorrow, all day this week, because you got the NFC Championship game coming up. Plenty of Birds talk. As I said, check me out tomorrow morning. We'll be talking Birds. Let's go. Fly, Eagles, fly, whatever you want to say. Just do your job. That's what I like to believe in. Just do your job. Everything else will take care of itself.